Welcome, everyone. I am Kia Nicole, and I will be your host for tonight's live. And we have joining me
your co-host, shanellealaine.
in honor of Black History Month. We decided to dedicate this live to Black history and all things Black before the month ends. Although we should be celebrating it regardless every day.
Oh, right. I'm
So,
about to say all long.
before we get started, feel free to comment, interact. We're talking to each other, we're really talking to you as well, and we do appreciate the feedback. So don't feel like you have to just listen to us talk. Feel free to chime in at any point in time. All right. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we're going to kick off the round running with highlighting some Black heroes that you may not have heard of, or maybe you have. We all know the typical ones: Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Madam C.J. Walker, Sojourner Truth, and the list goes on. But there are some unsung heroes that we may not have been familiarized with in school. So I tasked me and Chanel with finding at least one that we think you all may not have heard of, or maybe we haven't heard of ourselves. And so we're each going to take turns sharing one unsung hero that you may not have known and what they did. Go ahead, Chanel.
Okay, so I did find two just in case. I'm gonna briefly go over them so it doesn't take too long. The first one is Jane Bolin. So basically, she was a lawyer back in 1939, and her role was to stand up on behalf of people that are of color, and she was basically supposed to mediate between the probation officers so that they would not arrest us because of our skin color. And also, I think they said she also served as like a mediator. She worked with Eleanor Roosevelt as a mediator for boys to kind of help young boys of our color to not put themselves in situations where they can become arrested to be,
Right.
treated. So there's that. The next one I have here is Lois Malone Jones. She was a 7-year artist and teacher, and basically like her idea was to create Black culture and a way of art, expressing yourself through art, and also offering scholarship for those of color. So I just thought those were two that we don't really hear about as much, because like art is a free way to express yourself, but it's kind of nice when you're hearing it like she was like the originator of where art came from for Black culture. So
I love that. Yeah, we mainly just hear about just civil rights leaders, but there's way more to it. So I love that. I've never heard of any of those two. I think I heard of the first person, but I definitely have not heard of
She was a lawyer, the first lawyer to ever, mediate for our, not to have people arrested because of the skin color or misabused by probation officers. She was.
Love that. All right. Well, thank you for shedding light on those individuals. I have one. Her name is Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler. She was the first African American physician, publishing one of the first medical texts written by an African American author. She practiced in, I believe, Virginia and Boston. Is it Virginia? Yeah, Boston and Virginia. And then she also cared for the freed slaves. So the ones that were free, she would like take care of them, I guess. So thought that was neat. And she also, fun fact, doesn't have any pictures like in history. So there's like no pictures of her, but like she's a legend.
Which is why she probably wasn't as talked about, because you can't, a lot of times it's like if you can't see, you can't prove it. A lot of times
Yeah,
she's around, but she's,
Yeah, her work is like visible, but like she isn't, which is weird. I don't know. I guess she didn't take many pictures, or people didn't take many pictures of her. So yeah. All right. So moving on into some fun Black talk, because I don't know if it's really Black history, but the next topic is, what are 3 songs that you feel every Black person should know?
And Can We Talk? I tell you, Campbell, I feel like that's just a staple.
Agree.
Natural Woman by Aretha Franklin. Dance with My Father. I think that's by
And it's Luther, right?
I think that's Luther Vandross. Yeah. Those are my 3.
Okay. Those are good 3.
I didn't know if we were doing like modern times, so I went.
It don't matter.
Like, don't nobody gonna be like, yeah, Glow.
Yeah. It's hard to say.
I went more old school for that reason.
You could have
Huh?
said Kendrick song because everybody should know that
I
by now.
know, but I feel
That's
like
a modern.
that's more of like it's more recent times, and I feel like maybe a lot of people haven't really caught on to it, or they just must have on the beat. They just have specific parts of the song, but not really right. I feel like with these three songs I've listed, I feel like you could sing the words verbatim, or like you grew up or heard it, or so
Yeah.
I went that route.
Yeah, I didn't really do any recent songs either.
Mm,
I like songs that may have been passed down generation by
yeah.
generation, or like stuff you just grew up hearing. So the first one is "Before I Let Go" by Frankie Beverly and Maze.
Mm-hmm.
Beyonce did her own rendition as well. So if you never heard the original, she popularized it to the people who wasn't put on before.
Mm-hmm.
Happy Birthday by Stevie Wonder. You know the black version. Happy birthday to you. Yeah. Every black person should know at least that part.
What
And
you
then
say?
This Christmas by Donny Hathaway, which was popularized, I think, again by Chris Brown.
Yeah.
Anybody who didn't hear the original. So those are my two. There's so many though. So that's just three I could think off the top of my head, but there are so many more that we kind of grew up listening to. So yeah. All right, moving into movies. I believe, yeah, movies. What are three black movies that every black person should have seen?
Um, I feel like this Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like everybody should see that. I mainly watch around the holiday times, but I feel like everybody should see that.
Mm,
Boys in the Hood. I feel like everybody should see that as well. All the series of Friday,
agreed.
even though we have our specific ones that we like, but seasons of Friday. And then what's the one with Kid and Play? House. That's House Party. Yep.
I
Those are
agree.
my.
Those
You
are some
say
good
you
ones.
say four or
I
five?
said three, but I mean, if you want to keep going, that's
No,
up to you.
I did four, and then I could do one more. I feel like Medea's too. I feel like the Medea.
Series,
I feel
the host.
like the series of that. Those are
Mm-hmm.
my option. I feel like those are good. All right.
I agree.
Mhm.
Especially the plays. Like I grew up on the
Yeah,
plays first, and
the
then the movies.
plays was good, and then Medea Goes to Jail was like that's just something. Oh, and also to another. Well, I don't know if that's considered black. It's not really considered black, but I would say like all the series of Rush Hour only because Chris Tucker was in there.
That's
I,
okay. Like,
that's the only reason.
of Rush Hour. Chris Tucker being in it is all.
Right.
Was
But I mean, we could just throw that in there for the humor part.
Yeah, the Rush Hours were very good.
Yeah.
I So those are some good options. I would say The Temptations,
Oh, The Color
The
Purple.
Color Purple.
Yes.
That's a
The Temptations. Okay, the Jackson
Color
Five.
Purple.
Uh-huh. All right, keep going,
The
sis.
American Dream, Jackson
Uh-huh.
5,
I just,
Temptations, Soul Food,
uh-huh.
and then I think I said Baby Boy
Uh-huh.
as well. Like,
So you have some good options too, so there's
yeah,
a lot.
there's so many
There's
more though. Like
so
we
many.
just scratching the surface. There's so many,
So many.
so many more. But yeah, those would be mine. Did I have any more? Yeah, and you said Boys in the Hood already.
Boys
That
in
was
the
on there.
Hood.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I feel
All
like
right.
what's the other one too? The Best Man Holiday
And the original Best Man as
and the
well.
original Best Man. Yep. All right.
Mm-hmm. Poetic Justice.
Mm-hmm. I
Okay.
said Love and Basketball because I love me.
Love and Basketball. That's literally like my favorite movie.
That
How
go
people forget that.
crazy. I love that. I love
Me
it. Go crazy.
too. All right, moving on.
Uh-huh.
What's one thing you believe we should be teaching our children in the Black community that isn't taught enough? You can just name one.
Something we should like. Am I just listing one thing?
It's up to you, boo. If you got a couple, you could list however many.
Okay, so for one, I feel like what was the question again?
Like, what's something that you feel is lacking in the Black community when it comes to teaching our kids, like, just something that will help them in adulthood? Like,
one, I feel like one, I feel like not being able to express your emotions. Like a lot of times I feel like men and women grow up thinking it's okay just to be there like a brick wall and to be hard and to be tough. And it's like, we're already so beaten down by other races already. So it's kind of like you want to show how tough you are. And it's like, no, we're all humans. We all have emotions. We all have feelings. And it is okay for a man to cry. It is okay for a woman to cry. But mainly for men, it's like stereotypical. A lot of times when men do cry, you feel like, oh, they're weak. They're, you know, the B word, a lot of times you kind of talk down negatively instead of like uplifting them, letting them know like, hey, you're human too. It is okay to express it that way sometimes. Because if they don't, that's when they go to beating on things. That's when they go to yelling. That's when they go to, potentially shooting. Like, it's just they take it out in the wrong ways because we don't allow them to take it out in the correct way, which is, to express their feelings emotionally. So I feel like that's both for men and women. And then something else I feel like when it comes to our Black community, it's like we're not so emphasizing starting businesses. They're always telling you, hey, go to college, go to the military. It's like, it's so one-dimensional, I guess you can say. And a lot of times it's like, no, we have successful, people of color that can go into businesses, start these businesses. And a lot of times we are very successful because we help each other along the way versus it being handed down. In our culture, it's like you grind 10 times harder to get where you are because it's not handed down. Sleepless nights, sweat and tears. You know what you had to go through. You may have had to come out of pocket and pay for most of your education. So it's like there's more at stake for you. And I feel like a lot of times that's not emphasized. Like, it is okay to step off on that limb, have faith in yourself, and go ahead and start that business. That's one for sure. And then if I could do another one, what is it? I feel like growing, another thing is to like your beliefs and your values can also change. Like, yes, you could have been brought up a certain way, you could have been taught to do certain things a certain way, and that is okay. But a lot of times we are, in the Black community, the African American community, you are brought up in broken homes, and it's just such a heavy burden to carry when you're brought up in that. It's like sometimes you don't know how to love right because you've never seen it before. You can't do or imitate something you've never seen. A lot of times you're projected on because the person that really hurt you isn't there to feel that expression, so the kid ends up feeling that expression. A lot of times, like, the mom, or if it's a single father, a single mother, they're having to deal with a lot of stress when it comes to bills. And because of that, a lot of times you are now shift to depending on the government for financial aid, for Section 8. And it's like, you're going more so in the hood than it is in a decent neighborhood. So I feel like it's just a lot. Like, it is okay to maybe be in those situations, but find, I don't want to say solace, but find a reason to make yourself better enough that you would never go back to that place again. So those would be my choices, my little
You said
contribution.
some good things there. I want to go back to when you were talking about like the lack of love shown.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I feel like in a lot of Black households,
Mm-hmm.
hearing, oh, I love you from either
Yeah.
your parents or your siblings wasn't
Right.
taught, or you didn't hear it. So when you grow up,
Often.
you carry that with you. So you lack affection in relationships
Mm-hmm.
that need it, or you get kids and you don't really know how to show affection to them because you weren't shown affection to as well. So I feel like we should
Right.
show affection to your kids and teach them what love is and what healthy, relationships consist of. Because it's not about
Yeah.
heart body. Because, like you said, a lot of Black communities, you're growing up in the struggle. So it's kind of like you're growing up in survival mode all the time. So you don't really know how to let that shell down and like really show affection to the next person because all you knew was,
Tough
make
love.
it to the next day, the next month of bills. And, it's just, it'd be a lot in a lot of households, like you said, it's broken. So they're basically, like a product of their
Mm-hmm.
environment. So I agree we should be striving to break down, those curses, generational curses that we grew up in. Another thing I would say is we need to be taught like financial literacy. I say this all the time, like what it is to have a bank account at a young age, how to manage your funds and what credit is from a young age, and just how to save your money and how to use your money properly, because once you become an adult, if you weren't taught those skills, it's
Right.
like, ooh,
You don't know
you
how
up
to. You
money
poorly.
and handle it.
You
So
poorly manage money. Yeah.
yeah, versus if you were a kid and your parents like, okay, this is the amount of money I'm gonna give you to manage it up. Well, if you grew up being taught how to manage money at a young age, so then by the time you become an adult, when you start seeing that money, it's like, it's whatever. Like my parents been taught me how to manage $100, $200, and then eventually it'll build from there, $500, whatever. But
You know
I feel
what?
because in a lot of households, it's like you
I
lack
will would say those, sis, but would you consider, okay, speaking of which, would you consider the fact of like if your parents was to give you lunch money, like let's say they gave you lunch money back then, it's like $5, were you the type of kid to be like, okay, I'm gonna spend two and keep the rest, or were you the type of kid like, oh, I'm gonna spend $5 today because I know I'm gonna get $5 tomorrow?
It depends on the day, but I was a huge saver as a kid. Everybody knew I kept a stash. I had a purse. I kept stashes of money, and I would just keep asking for more money. Meanwhile, I had money saved, so I was one of those. I would stash my money and come back for my money.
I wasn't one of those, babe. I would spend the money and ask for it tomorrow.
No. Every time birthdays, holidays come around, I'm stashing that money. They be like, "Oh, I'm sitting on X amount." Yeah, I am, but you ain't gonna know. I'm gonna come back like I'm broke every time. Yeah, I knew how to save from a young age. It's just
yeah.
I
knew how to spend from a young age. I
can see that. But see,
I've worked on it, but it's easy to spend money when it's not yours. But when it's yours, oh baby, you know how hard you had to work. So you're more mindful and thoughtful when it comes to spending that money. But when it's just handed to you, I said, oh, I could just go back to the shop.
Yeah, that's
knock is me again.
Come from.
Yeah.
You don't know as a kid. You just be thinking, okay, my mom, my dad, they're endless source of money, not knowing they work hard for the money.
Right. It's just easily handed down, so you don't really care too much. Yeah.
My bad. Are you sipping on something? I'm sipping on water.
Gatorade. I got my whole thing tracking me, child. I'm trying to stay on my P's and Q's.
Get them steps in. All right, so yeah, that's good. That's all I had to say about that one. Let's move into the trivia. So we're almost done. This was the fun part.
Okay.
All right. It's only 4, by the way.
Okay.
It's 4 questions.
My eyes watering up, baby. Now I'm tired.
We gonna hurry up.
At 8:22 is crazy.
It's okay. 8:30 is much. 8:30 that's much. We should be.
All right, so I got you.
All right. What amendment abolished slavery? The 9th, 10th, 13th, or the 14th?
The 13th.
What amendment abolished slavery?
The 13th.
You are correct. It was the 13th Amendment. Now, of course, people still had slaves, as we know, but that's when it was written in law that slavery was abolished. All right, number 2. Soul Train was created and hosted by which TV presenter? Montel Williams, Arsenio Hall, or Don Cornelius?
Arsenio Hall kind of sound familiar, huh?
Let me repeat it. I know he sounds very familiar. And hosted by which TV presenter? Y'all can comment too. Was it Montel Williams?
The Soul Train? Okay.
Arsenio Hall or Don Cornelius?
I don't know. A is wrong. It was between B and C. Okay. I guess C. I don't know.
Don Cornelius?
Yeah. That sounds about right. I'm like, what did B do? Why he sound familiar?
Was he in comedy? Arsenio Hall sounds like either comedy or movies.
I feel like it was his name sounds so familiar.
We know who he is. We just drawing a blank. Arsenio Hall. We know who that is.
I feel like he does comedy for. Why I feel like that? Or he does some kind of acting or something.
It's one of the two. That's bad. I have to get off this and look it up. My mom was.
I like the name sounds familiar.
We know him. We do know him.
Yeah, he sounds familiar.
But it ain't him. It was Don Cornelius. All right. Which female rappers are you most likely to take off the aux or the Bluetooth when an older relative, so let's say your mom or grandma, is riding in the car? Meg Thee Stallion, City Girls, Glorilla, or Lotto? Who you taking off? Like, this too much for my.
I mean, they're all crazy rappers, and they say some slick shit out their mouth. They are all cutthroat. But I feel like Lotto we could get away with, because some of her songs is like, okay. Glorilla, we got the Glow album and all that, we could get away. I feel like the person I'll pull off the aux is like the City Girls, because they go real city. I I would say City Girls. I'm like, them the ones I would not turn that volume all the way down. Everybody else I might take a chance. You know, that one little line might not be something too bad, but the City Girls and the way I can't, I don't know what's gonna come next in the song with them. So
Cause
I'll
like,
pull the City Girls
how
off.
many
Yeah, no.
albums I got? 2 or 3? Is it 3?
That is fun.
And every song is vulgar. I feel like with the other ones, like you said, you might can get away with like hearing a song that has a little substance, not too bad.
Right.
But
Yeah, no, I feel like City Girl, every other word is something that I know.
Yeah.
My mom would look at me crazy. I know you're not playing.
I'm like, what is this?
I'm gonna have to explain. Like, wait a minute, Mom. Let me explain.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Definitely City Girl.
Yeah, no.
All right. The last one is, what's the one gospel song everyone should know, even if you don't go to church? What's that one black song? Mary Mary. Heaven by Mary Mary. Never Would Have Made It by Marvin Sapp. Stomp by Kurt Franklin. Or Break Every Chain by Tasha Cobbs.
I feel like Stomp is known, but not that much. Like, I feel like out of them, according to them lineup, no. So I take out C. What was A?
Heaven by Mary Mary. I wanna go to heaven.
Yeah. I had like that growing
Me
up.
too.
I'm gonna take that one out though because the lineup go crazy. So what was B and D?
B is Never Would Have Made It by Marvin Sapp, and then D is Break Every Chain by Tasha Cobbs.
I like all the songs. But I feel like Never Would Have Made It, and the other one was Break Every Chain. I feel like Break Every Chain is gonna go crazy because, baby, I don't know. I mean, Never Would Have Made It too. They all are good. They all are known, but I feel like the most known out of all 4 would be Break Every Chain. I feel like you could never go wrong with Break Every Chain. Like, I feel like people would know that before they know Stop and Heaven by Mary Mary. I feel that way. And then Never Would Have Made It. Go crazy. And then Heaven, then Stomp. That's my order. That's my order.
Okay, I would just flip-flop it. So I would say Never Would Have Made It, and then I would say Break Every Chain. Only because Never Would Have Made It is like, I don't know, that goes down. That's a little older than Break Every Chain is a little more newer school. But I remember, like, I don't know, what was I in middle school or something when it came out? I don't know, but it went crazy. And even to this day, I see people who I know probably don't go to church often still singing it.
I agree. Sis, Never Would Have Made It. You're right. That would have go crazy. But I feel like Break Every Chain will go crazy.
I'm with you. Like, I prefer Break Every Chain because Never Would Have Made It being ran down.
Right.
Because, yeah, I remember when it first came out and they ran that song to the ground. So for me,
that was a good lineup. I think that was a good lineup. I feel like everybody would have known all 4, but the main known ones would definitely be Never Would Have Made It and Break Every Chain. Them go crazy on a Sunday morning, going to church. It go crazy.
It do. I probably would say Stomp next, maybe. I don't know. Mary Mary's before Stomp?
Me personally.
Okay. I think Proud Family had Stomp in their episode, and so that's why I'm thinking about it. I think they had that.
You know, Mary Mary doesn't come from like a long, from way.
I used to love that album. My grandma had it on repeat in the car. All right. That concludes tonight's live. Make sure you guys tune in on our Live and Unfiltered page to watch the highlights of this live. Head over to our YouTube to see this full video if you missed any of it later in this week. Our YouTube page is Live and Unfiltered. Catch us on Chanel's page next week, next Tuesday. And yeah, I believe that's it. Happy Black History Month to everybody for these last few days. Enjoy it. Don't let nobody disrupt your peace. Look at them crazy, because what? We Black.
Okay. You ate a little piece. I said, okay.
All right. I was about to say you could skip a line or two, but nope. Cussed out on my behalf.
Don't listen. You might be at the back of the bus.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't do that. All right,
sis. Well, you have a great night.
Thanks, too.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.